America can be defined by one word: possibilities.
With just a few days left in office, President Joe Biden delivers his farewell speech. His message and warnings, new tonight. Plus,
they were able to protect 50 homes.
Local firefighters in California. Tonight we hear from crews about what they're dealing with and the important work they're doing on the ground.
We have more sun in the forecast in the coming days, but also a little bit of a dip in temperatures.
KREM 2 News 10 at 10 begins now with Mark Hanrahan and Jeremy Legoo.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started. First up tonight, Washington officially has a new governor. Gov Ferguson was sworn in as the state's 24th governor today, the first new governor in 12 years for Washington. Ferguson inherits some issues, including a major budget deficit. During his speech, he said Washington state faces, quote, real challenges on issues like affordability and public safety. Following his speech, he signed executive orders to streamline home construction and protect reproductive rights.
I'm proud of the robust legal protections we have here in Washington state, including, thanks to you, the nation's strongest health data privacy law. But I'm confident there's even more that we can do.
Ferguson went on to say that his administration will work with President-elect Donald Trump where we can, but Ferguson remains adamant that he'll protect Washingtonians' reproductive freedom. New tonight, Idaho's largest health system sued Attorney General Raul Labrador, seeking to extend protections on emergency abortions. According to our news partners at the Coeur d'Alene Press, St. Luke's health system filed its lawsuit less than 24 hours ago. It stems from a Biden administration lawsuit filed back in 2022, alleging that Idaho's abortion ban violates laws requiring medical care to patients experiencing emergencies. St. Luke says with a new administration coming in, they're concerned an injunction allowing emergency abortions may be vacated. For the full details behind the suit, just head to our website. That's KREM.com. And now to our Night Beat with a quick look at today's top stories. Tonight, a Spokane couple who admitted to killing their daughter's ex-boyfriend and leaving his body in the trunk of a car for a year is awaiting their fate. John Eisenman and his fiancée Brenda Cross pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter back in November. They're expected to be sentenced tomorrow. Court documents show Eisenman claimed the teen sold his daughter into a sex trafficking organization. However, Spokane police found no evidence that the victim participated in sex trafficking. Eisenman told police he kidnapped the teen in Airway Heights, zip-tied his wrists, and beat him over the head with a cinder block. His body was kept in the trunk of a car for a year before it was discovered in Hilliard. KREM 2 will be in the courtroom for that sentencing tomorrow morning. Meantime, a former Spokesman Review editor was sentenced today. Steve Smith was arrested on charges of possessing child pornography back in July of 2023. He spoke before a judge today.
I became one of the many who have used and degraded you. And though it seems wholly inadequate to say, I am ashamed and so sorry.
WSP says Smith paid underage girls to send him nude photos and videos of themselves. Today, a judge sentenced him to 10 years in prison and a $3,000 fine. New tonight, a military doctor who pleaded guilty to sexually abusing dozens of male soldiers at Joint Base Lewis McChord was sentenced to 13 years in prison today. Investigators say Major Michael Stockin was an anesthesiologist and pain management specialist at Madigan Army Medical Center. According to court documents, some servicemen who sought help with pain say Stockin performed unnecessary physicals without wearing gloves. Stockin is serving time for 36 counts of abusive sexual contact and 5 counts of indecent viewing. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just head to our website. That's KREM.com. Big changes are coming to the East Central neighborhood as crews continue to build the North Spokane corridor. KREM 2's Connor McAvoy went to a community meeting tonight to hear neighbors' questions and concerns about the decades-long mega project.
The nonprofit Nuestras Raíces hosted WashDOT's meeting on pedestrian bridges Wednesday night. Its location is one that Terrence Lynch with WashDOT says is significant to the project.
The East Central neighborhood is going to see a lot of work and a lot of change coming with the North Spokane corridor.
The $1.5 billion project is decades in the making. It's designed to create a faster route traveling across Spokane. including getting to and from the East Central neighborhood. A part of the project discussed in the meeting involves replacing 2 pedestrian bridges over I-90 at Freya and Hamilton. WSDOT showed attendees previous bridge designs, asking them what features neighbors in Spokane think would provide the best and safest comfort and accessibility when walking. It's something Brianda Perez with Nuestras Raíces says is an important question, but she says the biggest question about the project is one she's excited to see the result of once it's complete.
What is the future for Spokane, for events, community, and especially for community of color here at Spokane?
She says she's proud to have Nuestras Raíces host a meeting designed to inform and hear from community members.
Main focus is helping the Hispanic Latino community, and we feel honored to bring this event and invite the community because we need events like this here at the East Central.
This is WSDOT's 4th meeting on the project. They're continuing to have one the 3rd Wednesday of every month until May. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
All right, taking a break from the headlines and talk weather with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legout. Jeremy, it was nice to see the sun break out this afternoon. It sounds like more's in the forecast, but maybe some colder temperatures too.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off. We're just trading off some of that fog for sunshine and cooler temperatures. Seems fair to me, but as those temperatures drop, a little bit of cloud cover formed. It sits above ground right now, but there are likely going to be a couple of spots where that fog creeps its way down. Temperatures down below freezing across much of the region, except for the Palouse, where things are staying just a little bit warmer. We also have some cloud cover overrunning the top of us, but really it's that ridge of high pressure dominating until we get our next frontal boundary moving in. You can see it sitting off the coast right here, and that's what makes its way in starting tomorrow. So tomorrow, we start out very similar to where we've been the past couple of days. But by the afternoon, I think instead of having to wait around for the fog to move out, we see a mix of clouds and sun as the atmosphere gets a little stirring from the frontal boundary moving in. Temperatures will climb into the mid-30s again tomorrow. Low 30s Friday, 20s for highs on Saturday and Sunday. It's cooler, but only a little bit, and we get to see some sun.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Jeremy. I'll check back in with you later in the show. After more than a year of war, Israel and Hamas reached a deal to end the war in Gaza today. A ceasefire and hostage release agreement were reached during negotiations in Qatar. As soon as Sunday, Hamas could begin handing over Israeli hostages to Israel. President Biden claimed the success in a press conference earlier today.
I've worked in foreign policy for decades. This is one of the toughest negotiations I've ever experienced.
In the deal, phase 1 would last 42 days, with Hamas releasing 33 hostages, including women and the elderly and sick. In exchange, Israel would set free dozens of Palestinian detainees for each. Israel would also pull back to Gaza's perimeters, and humanitarian aid would start flowing again, something civilians in Gaza have been desperate for. The agreement still needs to be approved by Israel's parliament, but is expected to go into effect in the coming days. President Joe Biden spoke to the nation just hours ago. During his speech, he highlighted the successes of his first and only term in the Oval Office, just days before the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump. CBS's Natalie Brand reports from Washington.
My fellow Americans,
President Biden delivered his farewell address to the nation from the Oval Office Wednesday night, capping a more than half-century in American politics.
I've always believed, and I've told other world leaders, America can be defined by one word: possibilities.
He celebrated a long-awaited ceasefire hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas,
The elements of which I laid out in great detail in May of this year. This plan was developed and negotiated by my team.
President Biden didn't name President-elect Trump during his remarks, but warned about what he says gives him great concern.
Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms.
The president, who is also a U.S. Senator for 36 years, touted major legislative wins during his single term in the White House, from a bipartisan infrastructure bill to the Inflation Reduction Act, considered the largest investment in clean energy.
The rest of the world is trying to model it now. It's working, creating jobs and industries of the future.
And a new law to expand benefits for veterans exposed to toxic hazards such as burn pits.
Meeting our sacred obligation to over 1 million veterans so far who are exposed to toxic materials, and to their families, providing medical care and education benefits and more.
President Biden leaves office with a 39% approval rating, according to Gallup. But he maintains the nation is on better terms with allies around the world and will long reap benefits from historic investments at home. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time. But don't go to bed yet. Gonzaga hires its first ever female president. Tonight, we are getting reaction from students on this historic appointment.
They were able to protect 50 homes.
Plus, hundreds of local firefighters on the front lines in LA tonight. We're back in just 90 seconds.